Animation is the impersonation of reality, actively shaping a character's personality through the way in which they move and interact with the world around them. From eating a meal to walking down the street, every seemingly mundane mannerism has the potential to characterize. Yet contrary to the widespread veneration of visual storytelling, valuing anime primarily for its animation is regarded as superficial. Animation itself is perceived as a supplementary element to storytelling, only capable of accentuating meaning. Whereas in actuality, animation is a practice used to breathe humanity into a character. But how does the mere fluidity of a character's movement, or the intentional lack thereof, correspond with distinguished characterization? What is it about kineticism that causes viewers to become increasingly unaware of the extent of their emotional development towards a two-dimensional image? As humans, we're strangely perceptive of complex emotions, quick to empathize as a means to intimately connect with one another, whether they be real or fictional relationships. We understand that no two people smile, cry, or reveal frustration in the same way, that every expression has a story behind it, that animation is acting. The difference between good and bad animation is the difference between pain and anguish, fear and terror, identity and personality. This narrative of movement is best exemplified by examining scenes with purposeful animation, scenes that captivate us by visualizing a character's beliefs in a manner that forms their disposition. Everything we do has a purpose. Every action begins with a certain degree of thought, whether it be a brief moment of hesitation or a prolonged period of self-reflection. Behind every frame of gripping animation is intent, an indication of a character's soul, a driving force behind their movement. But to convey the inner workings of a character's mind through animation is no easy feat. Some of the most distinctly human actions are presumably thoughtless. To deliberately depict profound, humanizing moments that presumably hold no major narrative significance and not have them appear to be forced requires a deep understanding of what makes a fictional character an individual, not just an archetype. Body language is more than a habit or a personality quirk. Body language is a window used to view a character in the absence of narrative, a window whose clarity is determined by the representation of emotion. When a character is faced with tribulation, do they reflect or analyze? Are they perplexed or contemplative? Do they express anything at all? Regardless of their reaction, the most impactful expression is the one that best suits both their preconceived disposition as well as the intended tone of the scene. A character reacting to an event can elicit a multitude of reactions in the viewer, depending on how it's portrayed. A punch can be comedic or devastating. Bullet wounds can appear to be inconsequential or disturbingly graphic. Even if a scene is a showcase of masterful character animation, its significance will be misconstrued or diminished if it fails to elicit the intended emotional response from the viewer. This can be attributed to the animated equivalent of either under or overacting. Effective acting is seen in a character's ability to react. Within anime, unrefined acting, as indicated by a subconscious disconnect from the humanity of a character, is often a result of limited animation. In moderation, limited animation is a perfectly practical practice. Techniques such as manipulating mouth flaps on a stationary head or panning a camera across a static cityscape are instances of limited animation that tend to be considered perfectly reasonable. In fact, limited animation presents several unique artistic advantages over full animation. It allows for intricate character designs that would lose detail in more kinetic scenes. It advocates inventive approaches to scene composition for the sake of circumventing budgetary constraints. And to supplement the lack of fluid animation, more attention to detail can be found in still frames. And while stillness is a property that has the same opportunity for visual characterization as highly dynamic scenes, stillness is far more impactful when juxtaposed with action. Stillness amidst stillness is nothing. Stillness, having emerged from chaos and commotion, demands attention. If animate means to bring to life, limited animation implies a degree of lifelessness, a missing component. Subtleties and humanistic nuances are lost when only the essential, story-driven actions occur, when only the most fundamental emotions are conveyed. Animation has the power to embody emotion, and that power is rendered ineffective in the midst of limited animation. However, if limited animation is treated as a deliberate artistic choice rather than a restriction, it transforms itself into an art style. Kill la Kill utilizes artless techniques in order to emphasize a character's constitution in the most hilariously literal fashion. Pop Team Epic treats every joke as an opportunity to bypass traditional animation, complementing the meta-bending mindsets of its protagonists. And TQ, being the product of a single person, draws out the insanity of its cast from the show's inherently crude nature. Intentional mediocrity results in comedy. This begs the question, in what other ways do alternative artistic approaches to anime influence animation's ability to cultivate personality? From sound design to the narrative itself, every element of an anime is significantly influenced by the work's overall appearance, characters in particular. After categorizing the wide variety of art styles that exist within anime, presuming that moe is the current standard, two styles appear to reside on opposite ends of the spectrum: realism and abstract. Realism, albeit stylized realism, excels at external characterization through the conveyance of proficiency. In the realm of realism, fluidity of animation should coincide with how adept a character is at carrying out an action. Proficiency is particularly imperative when characterizing an individual whose essence is defined by their movement. A figure skater's capacity to follow carefully crafted choreography, an athlete's aptitude for adaptation in the face of adversity, a samurai's ability to skillfully slice down opponents in a single strike. While any action can be well animated in any style, the impact of scenes that focus on the physicality of a character are far more conducive to a realistic style. Proficiency depicted in abstract styles tends to have a more comedic effect due to the stark contrast between the character's appearance and the perceived prowess. Goemon, a character whose comparatively realistic design has been largely unchanged for decades, has been brought to life numerous times through the hands of countless animators. Often treated as nothing more than a deus ex machina, Goemon has never been a profoundly empathetic character. That is, until the revitalization of the Lupin franchise in 2012, which ultimately led to the 2017 film directed by Takeshi Koike, The Blood Spray of Goemon Ishikawa. Rather than being used merely as a plot device, effortlessly rescuing Lupin and the gang from swarms of police cars and stray bullets, Goemon is humanized through the way in which he undergoes and overcomes defeat. This film, demonstrating discourse almost entirely through motion, epitomizes the belief that dialogue is not required for character development, and that acts of violence are a language of their own. After being faced with a frighteningly overpowered opponent for the first time, the stoic, somber, and somewhat supercilious young Goemon is forced into a state of insecurity. With a broken sword and shattered spirit, Goemon reflects. Virtually motionless, Goemon can only manage to occasionally twitch out of desperation in the midst of his meditation, signifying his tremendous desire for advancement. Paralyzed by fear, the master swordsman has lost his most defining quality. In stillness, he is no one. Once this is realized, in a flash of sudden enlightenment, a cathartic showcase of flawless swordsmanship instills a newfound understanding of who Goemon truly is at the core of his being. Does a character's aptitude accurately reflect their attitude? Are they a talented musician? Illustrate accuracy. An accomplished dancer? Flaunt finesse. Strong? Show more than muscle. Demonstrate strain. Animation, when applied to a realistic style, has the potential to delineate varying degrees of one's competence, fortifying the individuality and believability of a character. It's not the action itself that solidifies a character's uniqueness, but the portrayal and execution of said action. While realistic art styles have the ability to enhance characters whose capabilities align with their identity, abstract art styles act as avenues for internal characterization by personifying emotion. Animated surrealism is the exhibition of a character's psyche, a visual representation of their personality traits and mental states. If the figurative language associated with feelings were to be given form, how would they be depicted? The dark sensation of drowning in depression, the raw ferocity of unadulterated rage, the euphoric experience of being enraptured by love. To alter the appearance of the world itself for the sake of hypostatizing an incident or emotion is the epitome of expressionism. By exaggerating pain, pleasure, fear. By giving shape to the intangible, perception becomes a means to better understand a character as we're able to see the world as they do. Art styles are more than an aesthetic preference. They're deliberately chosen to suit specific narratives and enhance characterization. As we immerse ourselves in the lives of fictional characters, we willingly suspend our disbelief and, at least temporarily, choose to regard them as real. By making the conscious decision to believe in a character's paradoxical existence, a heightened level of attachment is developed. We've invested our imagination. It's for this reason that the mere impersonations of the human form are capable of evoking laughter, inspiration, mourning. But to encounter that degree of empathy is at the discretion of the animator. The relationship between animator and audience is symbiotic. If the animator imbues life and personality, then we are the ones who nurture and validate it. The collective love, community, and culture surrounding a medium that stems from nothing more than a series of drawings is a testament to the power of animation, the manifestation of imagination.